everybody, I'm Michelle Anderson, the founder of Clarinet Mentors, and today I have a really quick and easy exercise that you can do at home that should help improve your tone. You do need a tool for this, which is some kind of tuner. So what I have in my hand here is a Chromatic Tuner that they cost probably around $25. I'll play any note and it has a dial that will show me if I'm in tune, if I'm a little bit under pitch, or if I'm a little bit above pitch. Now there's also some fantastic apps available, so if you have a smartphone or a tablet, or even there's online versions on your computer, you can just go to a website and find it. So it's very easy to find yourself a tuner. Now you might be wondering, well, how does this relate to tone? And what we're going to look at is what we call voicing. This is a part of clarinet playing that I've shared before and I share regularly with my students here in my studio. And yet I think it's one of those things that we need constant reminders of to continue to work on in order to master it. So even if you've heard this before, here's a quick, easy way you might test it and see how your own voicing is working and how you might improve it at home. Basically, where we have our tongue sitting inside of our mouth when we're just blowing, especially if we're not tonguing, maybe we're slurring, can have a dramatic impact on the tone that we produce on the clarinet. Now, there are many different styles of music we can play on the clarinet. We can play classical music. A lot of the band music that we might play in a community band might be based on a classical tradition, or it might be quite jazzy. The klezmer music is one of the great, sources of rich music for clarinetists. And all three of those styles, classical, jazz, and klezmer, have a very different type of tone quality that we normally associate with it. So I'm going to qualify right now that this exercise is great at helping you get more of a classical tone. And generally speaking, you'll use that in most classical music and a lot of the regular band music you might play in your community band. Now, we can also talk a little bit about how changing voicing is great when you are playing jazz and klezmer music. For the traditional classical clarinet tone, we want our tongue to sit very high inside of our mouth. And that's a little abstract. I find it's hard for us to think of it. But if we were to think of saying the word he, and I like the H sound in there, that seems to raise the sides of our tongue. Kind of hissing that he sound. It puts our tongue in a very good position for clarinet playing. And it definitely affects the tone. I want to give you 3 examples of different tongue position and have you hear, even through our computers, the sound might not be great, you're going to hear a difference. So I'm just going to play a 1-octave scale, first of all with my tongue in the he position, which is what I like to think of for classical clarinet. Now I'm going to let my tongue relax down a bit to how we would normally probably have it sitting, more of a hey position. When we say hey, our tongue is lower in our mouth. So here's hey. And here's ha, where our tongue's fully in the bottom of my mouth. Kind of not a great sound at the top, and yet this is what happens to a lot of people. They wonder why their high notes are flat in pitch and why they're getting a loud, obnoxious sound. So, very quick tool I'd like you to use is to grab your tuner and simply to play 4 notes. This is a diagnostic tool. It's to test if your tongue is in the right position. What we're going to play is your high G, the G we would play with just our left hand thumb, first 3 fingers, and the register key. And we're going to see where that sits on the tuner. And in fact, for this exercise, I don't really care if you're perfectly in tune. One thing you may know is that the clarinet pitch is affected by temperature of the room. So for example, today when I'm filming this, it's a hot summer day, this room is quite hot. I may find that my overall pitch is a little bit high. So don't necessarily manipulate your mouth to make that high G in tune. Play it with good constant air and notice where it sits. It might be perfectly in tune. It might be a little bit flat. It might be a little bit sharp. Just notice where it is. Then we lift a finger, slurring up to the A, the next note above it. What we want is for that note to stay in the same place. So for overall a little sharp, it should stay exactly the same amount sharp. Then we slur up a note to B, and we slur up a note to C. The idea is for the tuner needle to stay constant. If our tongue is too low, you're definitely going to see that tuner needle slide down to flat. And if each note gets flatter, especially the high C, that's a really strong clue to you that your tongue is sitting too low in your mouth. Probably you can then experiment while you're holding the note with lifting your tongue higher, and you'll see the pitch will creep back up on the needle. So I'm just going to demonstrate that, and while I'm playing, I will cut in with a tuner view so you can see what my tuner is doing as I'm playing those 4 notes. So as I played those 4 notes, you might see tiny fluctuations in my tuner, but for the most part, because it's a warm room, the notes were either a little bit sharp or right in tune. I didn't see a lot of fluctuation. Let me show you what would happen to the progression if my tongue was too low, and this is what I want you to look for in your own playing. I'm going to keep my tongue constant, but constantly a little bit lower than is ideal, and watch what happens to the pitch as I move through those 4 notes. So you could see the needle really went lower and lower and lower, and I was using the same good posture, the same good embouchure, the same fast air. Now, giving us something tangible to look at like the tuner just helps us to know if our tongue's in the right place, much more so than trying to analyze where is my tongue when we're blowing. That's hard to do, but this gives you a concrete tool to help do that. If you can get the needle to stay the same, odds are not only are you more in tune, you're probably getting a much better, more focused tone, and that's one of our goals as players. So I'd like you to try that out and let me know how it goes. There's a comments box right under this video here on YouTube, and I'd love to hear from you. I go into the YouTube comments about once a week, and I'll answer any questions you might have, read your comments. I appreciate hearing from you. And I have an invitation for you. If you are not already a member of my Clarinet Mentors community, I would love for you to join me. It's totally free. You just go to www.learnclarinetnow.com and you'll see a sign-up box. Once you're a member of my community, I send out a newsletter about every 3 weeks, and it will have an educational video like today's, where I try and share some of my favorite pointers to help you play clarinet more easily. But I also recommend interesting clarinet things I run across. It might be pieces of clarinet equipment, it might be great music books or recordings or special clarinet events, just things that I know are of interest to clarinet players around the world, like yourself. If it's not a good fit, you can unjoin at any time. Thanks for watching today's video, and I look forward to seeing you on our next video together.